My name, everyone, is Jennifer McGuffin. I am so grateful for everyone making time on short notice. I am the Chief Communications Officer for Romanucci and Blandin. And it is my pleasure to introduce to you today several of the attorneys who are going to be working on behalf of Daniel Prude's family and children, along with his daughter, Tashyra Prude. So here's how this is going to go. We are going to start off with some comments from the attorneys to set the context, and then Tashyra will make a few comments, and then we'll go into Q&A. And when we do that, you'll see the Q&A function. If you can just type in your name and your news outlet and your question, I will call on you one at a time. And if you give a second, your mic will be enabled and we can move forward from there. So for starters, I would like to introduce to you Nicolette Ward, an attorney with Romanucci and Blandin. We also have Mark Vedic from the law offices of Mark Vedic, who is co-counsel. And joining us in a moment is Frank Ciardi from Frank Ciardi Law. And let's go ahead and get started. Nicolette, would you like to begin, please?
Thank you very much, Jen, and good morning to everybody. My name is Nicolette Ward. As Jen mentioned, I'm an attorney at the law offices of Romanucci and Blandin, and I'm incredibly proud today to be standing here with Mark Vedic and with Frank Ciardi, representing Tashyra Prude and Tashyra Prude, who are the children of Daniel Prude. As I'm sure we all have, we've all seen the shocking video of Daniel Prude. He died on March 23rd of 2020, face down in the streets of Rochester, begging for his life, hooded. We think it's a terrifying example of the way in which police treats mentally ill individuals in America and the way that police treat Black men in America. Daniel Prude died because he needed help. And we're here to stand today and say that asking for help should never be a death sentence. Not for Black men in America, not for any American citizen. We're calling upon the city of Rochester to be fully accountable for the actions of its police officers. We saw in that video officers standing by a man who needed help. They put a bag over his head and they squeezed the air out of him. We think that asking for help should never be a death sentence. And again, we call upon not only Rochester, but on the Monroe County District Attorney and on the New York Attorney General to fully investigate the circumstances of this event. The city of Rochester has publicly remarked that these actions were not only appropriate, but fully in accordance with their training. And it's shocking to see this video and to think that the city of Rochester believes that the way that Daniel Prude died was in any way appropriate for any citizen of these United States. What I'd like to do now is I'd like to also introduce my co-counsel on this matter, Mark Vedic, who's going to make some remarks.
Hello, my name is Mark Vedic. I'm with the law offices of Mark Vedic, located in Oak Brook, Illinois. It is an honor to be here with you today and an honor to stand with the Prude family and my co-counsel. Today is not a day particularly to articulate legal theories, rather it's a day to reflect on the tragedy that happened to the Prude family and to be here to support them and the children. Thank you.
We also have with us Frank Ciardi, who, as we mentioned, is representing Tashyra Prude, one of the children of Daniel Prude. Mr. Ciardi, I believe you're on mute. I apologize.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and I thank you very much for having me. Ms. Ward, I think, set forth with great ability the impact that this has had on the children, the impact that this has had on the Rochester community. I think we are all looking forward to finding out what happened, to finding out how this can be avoided in the future. The Rochester community deserves to have a law enforcement department that can work to protect individuals like Mr. Prude. And I think together with this team, we can work to ensure that our clients have some kind of justice, I guess, in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ciardi. Jen, I believe you're on mute as well.
There we go. Okay. Really, I would now like to let Tashyra Prude make a few remarks so that she can talk about the impact that this has had on her family. Tashyra is 18 and a college student, and I'd like to have her start, please, by talking about who her father was and what this loss means to her and her family.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tashyra, and I would just like to start by saying that the person that everybody sees in the video is totally different from the person that I knew before that. Everybody sees my father now as somebody who was helpless and who was in a bad mental state at the time of his death, but I didn't know him as that. I knew him as a caring, energetic, and happy-go-lucky man who enjoyed making everybody smile and who loved his kids. So to see that video and see my father in a state of helplessness where he was complying and wasn't giving anybody a hard time and was in need of help is devastating, and it's really taking a toll on me and my siblings because we've never seen our father in a situation that way. And all I have to say now is I want justice. I want these officers charged with murder, and I want the city of Rochester to do better.
Tashyra, may I ask you to go on just a step further and talk about what you saw and your reaction when you saw that video, and respond to any perception that your father was a threat to police or others that day?
When I first saw the video and I heard the officers telling my father to get on the ground, and he said, "Okay, sure." He got down. They said, "Push your hands behind your back." He put his hands behind his back. They laid him flat on his stomach with no problem. My father didn't resist. He did not fight. And I don't understand how anybody could say or feel like he was a threat to the police when he complied with all orders. Like, there's nothing that anybody could say to me that could convince me that he was a threat to the police officers. And I feel like this case was simply just a case of police brutality and racism. A racist police officer saw a Black man in need and decided that he just didn't deserve to live. And I don't agree with this at all. I feel like this is wrong. This is unjust, and this has happened too many times. This should not keep occurring. Nobody deserves to die when they are in need. Nobody deserves to die in police custody. The police are put out to protect and serve, not kill. And they did the complete opposite of their jobs. And this has taken a terrible toll on me and my siblings because we all loved our father. I love my father dearly. So to see him in that state it was heartbreaking. And I never thought I would be seeing my father that way. And to this day, I'm still waiting on him to call me and say, "I'm coming home. I'm on my way back to see you. I'm coming to get you." That's all that's crossing my mind. And to know that I will never get there is breaking my heart.
Tashyra, it's been a rough couple of months. What has it been like going off to college without him, and how do you look forward without him?
Going off to college without my dad was one of the hardest journeys I've ever been on. He didn't get to see me go on prom. He didn't get to come to my college trunk party. He didn't see me graduate, and he didn't get to take that ride with me and my mother and my brother. So knowing that he wasn't there, it hurt me because that's something that I was looking forward to, because me being his youngest child and his first child to actually go away to college like this, I feel like that's something that he deserved to see. And I deserve to have my father with me throughout all of this. And I was deprived of that experience. I didn't deserve this. My siblings don't deserve this. He didn't deserve to die. And I just want justice.
Thank you. Why don't we take a couple questions from reporters? We've got some in the queue right now. The first comes from D. Babwin with a question about police policy in COVID. Let's activate that mic, please, and have one of the attorneys respond.
Can you hear me?
Sure can.
I was just wondering, in this age when police officers and everybody else are concerned about COVID, and there's a man in obvious distress, what do and they use this bag, and I guess other departments do as well. What do other departments do in these kind of situations that this department didn't do? Are there other mechanisms, other equipment that they could use where they could take somebody into custody and not risk, coming down with the virus? I'm just wondering, just the use of the bag, what's typically done?
Thank you. In our experience litigating these cases, we have never come across another instance, even in the time of COVID, in which a department has not only physically restrained somebody, but then further placed a bag over their head, their nose, and their mouth. We have no indication in this instance that this bag was being used as any kind of COVID precaution or as any kind of health precaution. And in fact, what we've seen is that the use of these bags can and does increase the risk of asphyxia. We see in this case that Mr. Prude actually vomited inside the bag and spent the last moments of his life essentially breathing in his own vomit. In this case, in addition to the pressure, the positional asphyxia being placed on him, it's our position that the bag just added an incredibly high risk of further asphyxia, and that it never needed to be done in the first place.
Thank you.
You're on mute, Jen. I apologize.
Oh, that's okay.
Thanks. The next question is from Charlie Wojciechowski. Okay, we are having trouble getting his mic live, so let me please read the question.
I'm back now. Can you hear me?
Okay, terrific. Please. To you.
It's very much along the same lines as Don's question. We all watch the video. We see a man who's obviously in a situation. What should police have done in this case differently that they did not do in order to provide the service they should have provided him to keep him safe and to keep themselves safe?
And I'm sorry, you were feeding back for a portion of that a little bit, but I think I generally get the thrust of your question. In this instance, it's our position that there is simply no situation in which it is appropriate to be restraining an individual face down and in handcuffs and placing additional pressure on their back. We've seen from the Floyd case that this poses an incredibly high risk of positional asphyxia. It literally squeezes the air out of an individual and it stops the effective blood circulation. In a situation like this one, in which there's an individual that seems to be having a mental health crisis like Mr. Prude, we think it's appropriate to use additional resources that are available. Rely on EMTs to make that first contact and to assess the individual's health needs. Attempt to talk to the individual. Use crisis intervention training to de-escalate the situation. In this situation, we don't see that. They put a bag over his head, pressed his face into the ground, and laughed at him. So we think that there were failures at nearly every step of the way in this process that could have been remedied by drawing upon other resources available to the Rochester Police Department.
If I may just add to that, when you look at the actual video, you see someone in a prone position, you see someone face down, lying with his head on the ground. I mean, at some point, a trained professional has to realize that's not appropriate. Let's turn him over. Let's get him medical care. You had an ambulance driver who was present right there, an ambulance EMT that could have helped out the situation, could have intervened, but there's neglect everywhere. They don't even find the keys to the handcuffs to have this EMT give the proper care that needed to be given. And so there's clear neglect here. And I think when you couple what Ms. Ward said, being asphyxiated in the prone position, basically helpless on the ground, there could have been help by these EMTs, and the officers just didn't let that happen.
Thank you. Next question is also for Attorney Ciardi from Taylor Romaine at CNN.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to know what the other sibling's full name is that Mr. Ciardi represents. I wanted to get her full name, the spelling, please.
Yes, it's Tashyra Prude, Junera, and then the same last name.
Awesome, thank you.
Rude.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question comes from Jane Chaco at Channel 13 in Rochester, and this one is for Tashyra.
Hi, Tashyra. I just want to know about the last time that you saw your dad. What did you guys say to each other? What would you say to him if you...
Her mic went out.
Can you hear? Oh, the last part of that was just what would you like to say to him if you could talk to him again?
The last time I saw my dad, the main thing that we were talking about was my birthday, because my birthday was the next day. And he was just saying how he couldn't believe that I was turning 18, and we exchanged words on how much we loved each other. And he stated that he was going to come and see me that next day. If I could see him right now and talk to him, I would just ask him, what made you leave? And why did you leave? What would possess you to leave? And just I would ask him to promise me that he would never leave me again.
Mm-hmm. And do you remember the date that you saw him? I mean, the last time you guys talked?
The last time we talked was March 19th of this year. The last time we saw each other in person was March 18th.
Okay. Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
So if you don't know, there's a GoFundMe for your family, and as of like 10 minutes ago, there's over $22,000, and there were protests here last night. I just want to know, what was your thoughts and reactions to the community support in Rochester?
I wasn't aware that there was a GoFundMe. I don't know who authorized it, and I don't know where the money is going. That's new to me. I just found that out through you. I had no idea about that.
Okay. It was from Free the Rock People. Free the People Rock is a Black Lives Matter organization here. So just tell me then, what about your the thoughts about the community support? Have people reached out? What you've seen from the protests and things like that?
The community support is amazing, and that's exactly what we need. We need everybody to band together, of whether you're Black, white, Hispanic, Asian. If you support this cause, we just need you to come together and actually protest and get our voices heard, because if we're silent on this, nothing's going to change. And in the next few months, there's going to be another unarmed Black person killed by the police. This has to stop. So I'm happy that the community is stepping up, and I've also been receiving support from family and friends here in Tennessee, where I am, and in Chicago, in my hometown.
Thank you.
Jen, I don't think we were able to hear you there.
Sorry, folks. Question is from Megan Hickey, and Nicolette, it will be for you about timing in the case.
Hi, Megan Hickey from CBS Chicago. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
So parallels have been drawn to the George Floyd case, and that was in May. Mr. Prude died in March. Just curious why we're learning about his case now.
You know, our office, and I know I speak for Tashyra when I say that we had the same questions. It was shocking and surprising to us that given the circumstances, given the attention being brought to these issues by the George Floyd case, it's surprising to us that we had to find out in this way. The Rochester Police Department, the city of Rochester, has indicated that it was subject to certain restrictions in releasing information. But to us, that's simply an excuse to hide the fact that this case occurred. And again, we are calling upon the city of Rochester to be transparent. We're calling upon the city of Rochester to give out full information and to give the community the information that it needs about what happened, because these officers are still on the streets. And so we think it's time for the city of Rochester to make it right for hiding this case and the circumstances of Mr. Prude's death for so long by releasing all the information that they have and by punishing the officers that were involved.
Is the timing at all connected to the release of the body cam video? I mean, is there any lag there, or is that just, I guess, that just happened at the same time?
And if I could ask a follow-up, are you asking whether the release of the body camera footage is coinciding with the city's response to the case?
Yeah.
Yes, we aren't clear on why the city of Rochester hesitated for so long to release this body camera footage when this incident, as you touched on, occurred in March. We can't speak to the city's decision-making on that, but we're in agreement that this was simply much too long a wait for a death as shocking and serious as Mr. Prude's.
Thank you.
I'd also like to add, I think those questions are best for the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, as well as the State Attorney General, Letitia James, and why nothing's happened since, Rochester Police Department, what's been going on for these months.
Okay, next we have several questions from Alice Yin at the Chicago Tribune. The attorneys can take first pass at them, but certainly some of them sound like Tashyra may have a statement or two she might like to make as well.
Tashyra, can you go into detail about your quest for justice and how your family persisted in uncovering the details of your father's death?
So I've actually had no say in anything that's been going on. As far as me and my siblings, we gathered our own attorneys and have been moving forward with the process as quickly as we can. But with the information being released, which was released without our consent, because we are all of age, we should have a say in this. We should say whether or not we want information published, we want the body cam footage released. We didn't have a say in any of this. So Janera and I are the only ones who have attorneys. So we've been working with different law firms to get everything together. And that's as far as I've been going with this, because I personally didn't want everything to get out just yet until I had all the facts together, because it wasn't until yesterday that I actually knew the exact day that my father passed. I was told that he passed April 1st. So I'm just now finding out new information.
And I have another question. Rochester officials are denying that there was a cover-up. What is your response to that? Do you think there was a cover-up?
I believe wholeheartedly that there was a cover-up, because if my father died March 30th, there's no reason why this story is just now hitting the media September 2nd of this year. And there's no reason why his children were not notified. We were supposed to know all of this prior to everything. I've received nothing but mixed information. So there was definitely a cover-up with this situation.
Thank you. Next question is from Charlie Wojciechowski. Again, we got a follow-up from him, and this will be for the legal team.
Thanks. It's actually a simple question about the lawsuit itself. Who's named in the lawsuit? Does it name the city, the officers involved? And what are you seeking in terms of damages, in terms of changes in policy, that sort of thing?
Our intent in pursuing this lawsuit is to ensure that not only the city of Rochester is named, but all of the officers that are responsible for this case. At this point, we understand that 3 officers were present on the scene, and we intend to seek liability against all of them as well against the city. In this case, we intend to seek damages that are commensurate with the absolutely staggering loss that not only Tashyra has experienced, but also all of her siblings have experienced. They have to go without a father. Tashyra will have to spend her college experience without her father's guidance and advice. It's an absolutely heartbreaking loss for all of the members of the family, and we intend to ensure that we seek damages commensurate with that.
Thank you. We have a question from someone who comes up as anonymous, so I'm just going to go ahead and place the question. It is for Tashyra. Just talking about what's the takeaway? What message do you have that you would like Rochester, Chicago, the country to know? Big question.
First of all, I would like Rochester to know, for all the people that are protesting and showing their support, thank you. Please keep doing what you're doing. Please keep making noise. Keep making your signs. Keep rioting, protesting, whatever you're doing. Make your voices heard. To the police officers and all the government officials in Rochester that took part in this and kept everything covered up and didn't figure out to console his kids before this, we will get justice. You will be prosecuted for what you have done. And to the world, I just want you all to know that my father was not a bad person. He was not a terrible man. He was not this helpless person that the media is going to make him out to be. You guys know him based off of a video, but my family and I know him from personal experience. My father was an amazing person, full of so much life and energy. And I'm upset that you guys didn't get the chance to see him that way. But I do want you guys to know that underneath that shell of a man that you saw, because that's what I think of him as in that video, under that shell of a man that you saw was an amazing person, a person with a bright personality. And I just want you guys to, the people who support all over the country, just like I said before, keep raising your voices and keep my family as well as me in your prayers.
Thank you. We have a question from Angel from CBS News.
Hi, thank you so much for giving me the chance. We wanted to know, how many other children does Daniel has?
Mr. Prude had 5 children.
5 children. Thank you. And if I may, what was his kind of work that he would do? His kind of job, line of work?
Tashyra, if you could talk a little bit about it. Oh, I'm sorry, I think you were speaking and I cut over.
My father worked in a factory before his death.
If I may, sorry, one more question. What are you going to miss the most about him?
I'm just really going to miss his personality and his ability to make me laugh, his ability to pick up on when he knew that I was sad, and he would know exactly what to say to make me laugh, or just know to give me words of encouragement to make me feel better. Because he's one of the main reasons why I'm away at college right now.
Thank you. I've received another question asking for the attorneys to talk a bit about Mr. Prude's mental health conditions, state anything that is known, in that regard.
As Tashyra has touched on, Tashyra and his children did not know Mr. Prude to be a man that suffered from mental illness. However, from the video that we've seen, it's apparent that Mr. Prude needed help at the time of his death. It's apparent that what he needed was medical attention and that he needed simple human compassion. And that's unfortunately not what he received. And as we've said, part of the issue that we're seeing here, part of what led to Mr. Prude's death is the fact that asking for help in this country has become a death sentence where police become involved. And so we intend to seek through this lawsuit a change in the way that not just Rochester deals with mentally ill people, with people in crisis, but a change in the way that police handle those instances nationally.
Thank you, everyone. I believe we are out of questions and appreciate everyone's time and interest in this very important case. Certainly, should anyone have any additional questions, you can reach me at jmcguffin@rblaw.net. I'm just being told that there is one additional question. Oh, there we go. I see. Sarah Schulte, please go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Sure can.
Okay. Yeah, I just trying to find out exactly why Daniel left Chicago and what was he doing in Rochester. I know he's got family there. How long was he there?
So from what I've heard about this, I've heard many different reasons as to why he left. I'm not sure which one is the truth, so I don't want to give any false information. And I'm also not sure how long he was there because he didn't notify me before he left. So I don't think it was a planned trip. I'll say I feel like it was something that was last minute.
And if I can, our understanding is that Mr. Prude had been in Rochester fairly briefly, that he had left the city of Chicago very shortly before his death, and that he had been there a very brief time before his encounter with the Rochester Police Department.
And it was because he has family in Rochester, which is why he went there?
Yes, it's our understanding that he may briefly have spent some time with his family in Rochester before the incident that led to his death.
And I have a follow-up to a question that was asked by Don and Charlie earlier about the bag over the head. I know you said in absolutely no instance should something like that be used. However, if it is part of their training, how do you answer that if they come back and say that that's part of their toolkit to subdue somebody?
It's our position that training at police departments has to always put the safety of the citizens first. And we've seen in multiple instances that training that police officers are provided teaches them unsafe tactics. In situations in which we're seeing prone restraints, like we saw with Mr. Prude, like we saw with George Floyd, police have to be trained that this is an incredibly risky procedure and that they should not be taking any actions that increase the risk of asphyxia in this case. If the officers indicate that that's their training, then that's training that the city of Rochester has to be accountable for in this case.
Thank you.
Thanks all. That'll do it for us right now. Certainly, should you have any questions later today or as this case progresses, you can direct them to me at jmcguffin@rblaw.net, and we will be happy to provide you with additional information. Thank you so much, and thank you, Tashyra, for taking the time to share your story today.
No problem.
Thank you all.